Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and Apple has finally announced a new event for May, which we weren't really expecting. No one had actually leaked that this event was coming out, and Apple sent out invites today, and you can see it here. So I thought we'd talk about where you can watch this, what we can expect, and also as far as iOS updates that we can expect to go around the launch of this event. Now this is called Let Loose. You can see the main invite here, and it says you're invited to watch a special Apple event. Tune in at apple.com May 7th, 2024 at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Now this is a bit different for Apple. They typically have events around 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern time. This time it's 7 a.m. Pacific time or 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's the first time I remember an event taking place at this time. The event is also online only. I haven't seen any invites go out that says join us at Apple Park. It looks like it's just going to be a live stream online. So with that live stream, you'll actually be able to watch it on apple.com. So if you go to Apple's website, you can see the event here. And one thing you may have noticed is the overall graphic is a little bit different than the invite itself. If you refresh this, it seems that there's about 6 different graphics. As we refresh through, you can see all of them change. So they'll change. Maybe you'll see some of the same ones again, but there's about 6 different ones as you continue to refresh and see different ones as it sort of glitches there a little bit. If we go to learn more about the event, you can also see more about it where it has an animation there also. So you can watch this here, add it to your calendar, or you can watch it on YouTube where they also have a placeholder here for May 7th. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, it should be available there. It's possible it will be available elsewhere, but you can watch it on iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple TV, or anywhere you have either YouTube or the Apple app where you can watch events. Now the animated graphic actually gives us a little bit of a hint as to what this event is about. You'll see there's an Apple Pencil there and they're twirling it. Also, Tim Cook mentioned on X or Twitter where he said pencil us in for May 7th. So obviously that hints at some sort of iPad, and we've been expecting iPads to be launched for quite some time. The first thing we expect is an iPad Air, a similar sized iPad Air to what we currently have. So what we have here is just a regular iPad Air, some pins on the back so you can connect different accessories, and basically we're expecting a very similar iPad. However, we're expecting 2 different sizes this time with the iPad Air. We're expecting the regular size and then also a larger size similar to what we have with the iPad Pro. And the odd thing about the next version of the iPad Air, the larger version, it's said to be basically the exact same size of what we have here with the iPad Pro currently. 12.9-inch or 13-inch display that's mini LED technology just like we have in the current iPad Pro. So it looks like it's going to take the place of that and also include an M2 chipset. One thing that will be a little bit different though is it's supposed to have a landscape-oriented camera where it would be along the top here, similar to what we have with the current generation base iPad. So that's expected to be changed in the iPad Air models, but with the iPad Pro, that's where we expect the largest change. In fact, we expect it to have a completely redesigned chassis or outer sort of frame where it's said to be a little bit thinner. Now, this could be a little bit of a concern because with this current one, some people have actually been able to break these in half pretty easily. In fact, if I flex this here just ever so slightly with very little pressure, it will move. So I typically keep this in a Magic Keyboard case, and whatever the next material is, if it's thinner, maybe it's titanium or something like that to maybe make it more rigid. But either way, I don't know that aluminum is rigid enough for that. So either way, we're expecting a thinner overall design with all of the same sorts of ports, and also USB-C, of course. But one thing we are expected to change in a big way is we're switching to OLED, it seems, for the display. Now, this is something that I have a little bit of a concern about because of PWM or the way it manages brightness. Now, typically when you use things such as an OLED display on the current iPhone, it actually flashes the display faster or slower to manage that brightness. And you can't technically pick this up with your eyes, but depending on the rate that it's flashing at, it can cause things such as people to feel nauseated or just have eye strain or dizziness as well. So if it's fast enough, you won't see it, but if it's too slow, this could be a concern. Hopefully Apple's already addressed this. They're aware of those sort of limitations of OLED that way, and maybe they resort to DC dimming. But either way, we'll have to see what they do with that technology, as some OLEDs out there don't really bother your eyes at all, others do. Now also we expect a change to an M3 chipset internally, so we could have that. Some have also said that we could have a matte display on the iPad Pro models. So again, 2 different size models like we have now, possibly a little bit larger display as well with thinner bezels, so to go along with that OLED. And again, we're expecting that landscape-oriented camera. Now, as far as the iPad and the iPad mini, I know a lot of people have been concerned about that. And when is that coming? Well, as far as that's concerned, it seems that it's probably going to be later this year. We have the current one here with the new Apple Pencil with USB-C. That's something we've had for a little while that also has that landscape camera, but these are expected maybe to be updated later this year, along with the iPad mini. So if you've been looking for an iPad mini, which I have one right here, if you've been looking for an iPad mini, it's expected to be updated later. What's going to change other than the internal processor is hard to say, but we do expect some sort of an update probably later in the year. I'm not sure why they always push this to the back, but maybe they don't sell as well as regular iPads. Now, of course, we're expecting some new accessories as a replacement to the current Magic Keyboard, and what's said to be majorly different is that it's said to have aluminum instead of this sort of rubbery material, making it more like a MacBook. So we could see that as well, where this material is nice, it's fairly grippy, but it doesn't seem to hold up incredibly well to things such as scratches. If you bump it into something, this is a couple years old at this point, and while it still functions fine, it does seem to stain if you have the white version, or sort of just kind of get grubby around the edges no matter how much you clean it. So I'd love to see sort of an aluminum or aluminium version, and also maybe we'll get some new function keys. It is said to have a larger trackpad, but some new function keys would be welcome, where maybe we have brightness options for the display built in right here, possibly volume and more. Hopefully we see something along those lines, but we are said to get a new one, and also we could have some additional ports. I hope we have the one currently, but maybe some high-speed ports or something else. So I'm looking forward to that, seeing what they have. Of course, these are typically very expensive accessories, around $350 for the larger one. So an aluminum version would definitely be welcome with a new Magic Keyboard. Also, we're expecting a new Apple Pencil. And as far as the Apple Pencil is concerned, we don't expect it to be too much different other than that it's said to have sort of a squeeze gesture built in. So what that means, we're not really sure, but it is in the code of iOS 17.5 betas. So squeezing it to perform some functions, maybe some things we haven't thought about as well. Also, the Apple Pencil hints at control of Vision OS possibly with it, maybe to control some different touch points, but there's no mention of maybe using it on iOS on the iPhone. So it looks like it's just for the iPad for now. Maybe they'll change that in iOS 18. Now, when to expect the pre-orders? Well, we don't really know for sure, as sometimes Apple has the pre-orders available right after the event. But based on what we've seen in the past, if we take a look at the calendar, we know the event is on May 7th. We could have pre-orders right after the event, or more likely on that following Friday. Typically, we'll have those sort of pre-orders lined up, and then the Friday after that is usually when they release it to the public. So we don't know the actual launch date yet, but that's usually what Apple does. And that means iOS 17.5 will probably coincide with the release of the iPads. If they do come out on the 17th, we'll probably have a release of iOS 17.5 to the public on the 13th. However, if they do something different, we could have it in the week of May 6th there. So right before the event, or probably after the event. But usually after the event, we'll have the release candidate of the current beta, and then a final release the following Monday. So that's typical, but we don't really know, as Apple really has changed things up this year and sort of moved around dates and times. But that's everything we expect so far. So far, no new AirPods, no new AirTags, no HomePods or anything else. We can expect more at WWDC in June, on June 10th, where we'll see iOS 18 with major feature updates and more. So that's only a couple months away, and that's where all of the big changes will be. So hopefully we see some big changes with iPadOS there as well to go along with those new iPads. Let me know what you're most excited for in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.